Fenlon, we meet again. And again. And again.
I grow tired of your visits, cat.
As do I, you slut.
You are a slut.
You're a slut.
You are the slut.
Cat, ready to dance.
I'm always ready.
Fenlongo, I've missed our chats.
You shut up and fight.
Welcome to the mother. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. We now know who it is Ebony Bridges will be fighting in her next fight, scheduled for 6 rounds in the bantamweight division, where she once reigned as IBF champion. She's going to be facing novice Ebony Cotton.
Who the fuck is that?
Ebony Bridges sports a professional record of 9 wins with 3 losses and no draws, 4 recorded knockouts, having never been knocked out in 12 professional bouts to Ebony Cotton, her opponent, who sports a meager record of just 2-1. 2 wins and 1 loss, and that 1 loss was to Molly McCann, Meatball Molly, who recently made the transition from MMA over to boxing. Molly was just 1-0 going into the Ebony Cotton fight and was good enough to beat her. So theoretically, Ebony Bridges should be good enough as well, as she is more experienced than Molly was. Certainly more than Ebony Cotton is, and that's all you really need to know about Ebony Cotton, which communicates a lot. That this is an even safer opponent choice for Ebony Bridges, who's now coming off of 2 consecutive losses than Alexis Mons was, who she fought in what was her MVP debut. It didn't go her way. This upcoming fight is not an MVP show. It does appear that she is still with the promotion, but they will not be the ones promoting her next fight. Which then begs the question, what is the end game for Ebony Bridges? To MVP, what do they want to do with a 39-year-old former champion who's coming off of 2 consecutive losses and will be breaking in a new trainer in her next outing? Dominic Ingle, the longtime trainer of Cal Brock, Ebony Bridges' beau, will be taking over the training responsibilities for Ebony to get her ready to prepare her for Ebony Cotton. Not that I think she needs Dominic Ingle specifically to win that fight. What is the end game? This is a rebound fight, but what is Ebony rebounding to do? Fight Shannon Courtenay again. Her old buddy Shannon Courtenay, former WBA champion at this same weight, who sports a professional record of 11 wins with 3 losses and no draws, 4 recorded knockouts, having never been knocked out in 14 professional bouts. You're saying MVP wants to do a rematch between her and Ebony. Last in action earlier this month on the 5th against Sasha Booker, who she stopped in the 3rd round of a contest scheduled for 8 on the undercard of Dubois versus Harper, currently on a 3-fight winning streak. You're saying MVP wants to do a rematch between her and Ebony. Shannon, or Shani, as Ebony likes to call her, very recently made her super flyweight debut. That was the Sasha Booker fight. She means to become a champion at a second weight. Shannon and Ebony initially met in April of 2021.
Wow, it's been that long.
Approximately 5 years ago, where both women gave a great account of themselves and entertained a lot of people that were watching at home as we were just leaving the shutdown, the pandemic. They were both with Matchroom back then, but they're both with MVP now, and if I had to guess, what's the master plan here? What is the end game for Ebony Bridges and MVP's interest in her? Maybe it's that. Maybe it's doing a second fight with Shannon Courtenay. When you keep this many former champions around as part of your stable, like Shannon Courtenay, Ebony Bridges, Sharita Metcalf, they were all champions in the bantamweight division, but not anymore. It just gives off the impression that you're looking to fatten up another fighter, a younger fighter. Say young Crystal Rosado of Puerto Rico, who also campaigns in the bantamweight division, or maybe Shernika Johnson, who currently holds all the alphabet titles at that weight. Maybe them. And so you will notice that both Sharita Metcalf and Shannon Courtenay have made a decision to leave the bantamweight division and move down to super flyweight. Is it to put distance between themselves and a Crystal Rosado and a Shernika Johnson?
Maybe.
To put distance between themselves and a Dina Thorsland, who is also promoted by MVP, but is yet to make her debut under the banner.
Maybe.
Now, Ebony Bridges hasn't moved down to the super flyweight division. Put simply, at her age, I don't think she can. I don't think she can get down that low without leaving too much of herself in the gym, so she's still at bantam. She's about to fight Ebony Courtenay, and presumably afterwards, maybe she faces Shannon Courtenay? I don't know how much Shannon wants to give her a second fight. Shannon's not the one that needs a rematch. Though MVP might try to make it, there's gotta be a reason they picked up Ebony Bridges, coming right off a loss, now coming off another one. Attempting to get back in the winner's bracket and revive her dwindling career. Let's see if she can. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, veteran boxing scribe Stephen Kimothy took to his social media and stated, "Is there any talk of Shakur Stevenson's next fight? After his victory over Teofimo, there was a lot of buzz on him. Now, I don't hear much of anything. Is it that marquee guys don't want to face him? And/or is he asking for an exorbitant amount of money?" Saw a Twitter user who goes by the name The Heyman Files say, "It feels similar to PBC. They used to have guys win and generate a buzz, only to go by the wayside and not capitalize on it by having the guy inactive the following 16 months, taking for granted the annual 8-figure check will always be there." What could be the reason that things have gone so quiet for Shakur Stevenson following the biggest win of his career? Not having a promoter might be a part of it. There is the fighter and his managerial team not wanting to go backwards on the money, thus limiting how many options they actually have to get back out there. There is that, but there is also Shakur being a free agent and not having a promoter to promote him, not having an Eddie Hearn to constantly bring him up in interviews and talk about him and talk about what is next, not having an Eddie Hearn, not having a Bob Arum. We don't know what's being planned for Shakur Stevenson, if anything, and the fighter left to their own devices. You know, not all fighters are all that eloquent speakers. Not all fighters have charismatic personalities. Shakur Stevenson, accomplished boxer that he might be, he doesn't have the charisma of a Sugar Ray Leonard or an Alexis Arguello. Frankly, I think all he really cares about is the size of his next purse. The next big Saudi bag, because that's what he's relying on. Continued participation in Turkey El Al Sheikh's shows. But we don't know if he's going to go back down to 135. We don't know if he's going to continue to campaign at 140 or move up to 147. There are a lot of questions that need answers when it comes to Shakur, and I think a big part of the reason is he don't have a promoter. He doesn't have somebody getting on that bullhorn, that megaphone, to announce what the plan is. What is the career trajectory? What happens next? Is he going to shoot for undisputed? Well, that relies on the presupposition that there is a plan. And I don't think there is one. And I think it's because he ain't got no promoter. You know, a promoter invests a lot of money in a fighter. They then develop a strategy to try to not only make that money back, but make a profit, leaving them inclined to do so because of their investment. But with no one making an investment in Shakur outside of Turkey El Al Sheikh occasionally using him, there's no plan, so there's no megaphone. Shakur Stevenson's last fight did pretty well at the gate, but I haven't heard anything about the box office. Pay-per-view-wise, in terms of pay-per-view buys, we don't know what that fight with Lopez did. I figure that if it would have done robust numbers, we would have heard about it by now, because it's been weeks.
And some months.
I hate to say this about Shakur on the heels of a dominant win over another accomplished fighter in Teofimo Lopez, but he's another earmark of boxing inflation. A fighter who shouldn't be fighting behind a paywall. A fighter who perhaps shouldn't make as much as he does.
Why?
Turkey paying fighters like Shakur Stevenson in excess of their actual market value drives the cost of everything up, resulting in more paywalls, more box office fights that should not be, more boxing fans resorting to illegal streams to be able to watch a bit of boxing because everything is so expensive. And everything is so expensive because there are too many fighters being paid more than they're worth, more than their market value. I picked Shakur Stevenson to not only win that fight with Teofimo, but dominate that fight with Teofimo. For a long time I said he's all wrong for Teofimo, so I don't say what I'm saying out of bitterness. It's not a case of sour grapes, it's an inconvenient truth. The reality of a pure boxer, that base style that most boxing fans struggle to digest, even off a dominant win. It's a very different aesthetic when a pure boxer dominates a fight than if a pressure fighter dominates a fight, or if a boxer-puncher dominates a fight. Those last two make for more entertaining bouts, whereas a pure boxer, even at their best... When a pure boxer is having it all their way, what that means is there's not a lot going on. There's not a lot going on in the fight. They're winning, but pure boxers win fights by slowing the fight down. Being safety first, cautious and careful in boxing from the outside, not a lot is going on. So a pure boxer dominating a fight. Do you remember what Shannon Sharp said after Shakur's fight? That he's a good boxer, he's a great boxer, and he acknowledges that, but he wouldn't pay $4,000 or $5,000 a seat to see that. Shannon Sharp said that to Ocho Cinco, and how many times have I said, for guys my age, in their mid-40s, to be up until the wee hours of the morning to catch some boxing, we want something to happen. Something exciting. How many times on this channel did you hear me say that his fight with Teofimo wouldn't be? It wouldn't be exciting. Shakur's gonna win, and Shakur's gonna dominate. But it won't be a barn burner. It won't be a thrill ride, and it won't be the kind of fight that you could show a casual boxing fan and make a fan out of them. Addressing Steve Kim's query, how could things have already gone so quiet for Shakur Stevenson following the biggest win of his career, and what was a dominant win? That's how. That's why. He's not exciting. He's not exciting, and he doesn't have a promoter to keep his name out there. He himself doesn't have much of a personality. That's how. That's why. I don't really know what's next for Shakur Stevenson, but I'm not bothered by not knowing, because as good as he is, he's not exciting. It's actually the promoter's job to get the audience excited, to get them involved. That's the promoter's job, but Shakur doesn't want a promoter. Okay, then you promote yourself. Look at the fantastic fucking job he's doing with that. Men's heavyweight news. Tyson Fury only wants Joshua, but after 10 years of wrangling, will super fight ever happen? Just before midnight on Saturday, an hour after the first victory of his latest comeback, Tyson Fury paused in the midst of a familiar monologue about a predictable subject. He had just outclassed Makhmudov, the tough but limited Russian heavyweight, over 12 one-sided rounds, but Fury wanted to talk only about Anthony Joshua and whether or not he and his old British rival would ever fight each other. In the lavish depths of Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Fury sounded perplexed. 10 years in the making, and still, after all this time, there's uncertainty if this fight's gonna happen next. I've no idea. I hope so, but you can't force someone to do something.
If it ain't Anthony Joshua next, I'm not interested in boxing. I'll eat 1,000 Easter eggs, go up to 35 stone, I'm out. I'm not interested. It's either him or I'm gone again. I'm not interested at all. I'm not interested in up-and-comers. I'm not interested in someone trying to prove a point over me. I don't care. I don't care about rankings. I don't care about belts. I only care now about AJ, that fight. That's the defining fight for British boxing. You know, it's either going to happen or it's not. And it's not what Frank wants to hear. It's not what Spence wants to hear either.
I think the fight will 100% happen this year.
I think so too, but I noticed almost a sense of panic in Tyson Fury when Anthony Joshua did not rise from his seat and did not enter the ring to meet his mock challenge for a mock face-off for a fight that isn't done yet. Fury looked panicked. That's why I believe him when he says that if it's not for the AJ fight, then he's not interested in boxing. Why would he be? I believe him when he says that he's not interested in rankings, he's not interested in belts, or up-and-comers trying to prove something. He's only back for the AJ fight. Fury scoffed at the suggestion that Joshua needed a proper test against a real boxer before stepping in the ring with him. It's another stumbling block. He's just knocked a man's spark out, he said. I've just come off a win, let's get it on. He's 36, I'm 37. What's the holdup? This was supposed to happen years ago, said Tyson Fury, not acknowledging that every time it didn't happen, something going on with him was the reason. Whether it's because he was retired or he was all caught up with the Wilder stuff, every time this fight fell apart, it was because of Fury. Fury, who said, I don't think there's a stadium in the world we couldn't sell out. Fury was asked, if a two-fight deal with Joshua was being negotiated, let's just get one first. One will do. He dismissed the idea that he might be tempted to challenge the winner of next month's WBO title showdown between Fabio Wortley and Daniel Dubois. What have I got to prove against some schoolboys in the division? Fury asked. I want to fight Anthony Joshua, the same age as me. Two British boxing legends. Let's fucking fight. Was he surprised Joshua didn't climb into the ring on Saturday night? Yeah, openly surprised. He was brought here tonight ringside for a reason, to get in that ring, make a face-off, and get the fight signed. I signed months ago.
And I still don't believe that.
He had his opportunity to accept and shake hands, let's dance, but he didn't. He was very evasive and didn't give any definitive answers.
I think it's hyperbole when Tyson Fury says that he signed for the fight months ago.
I'm to believe that the fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua was already negotiated months ago when he was coming off a knockout loss to Daniel Dubois, he was going to go straight in with you.
And when you were still retired, coming off over a year of inactivity, you were going to go straight in with him.
Because this fight was negotiated months ago and you signed on to fight months ago. Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't buy that. Spencer Brown, Fury's manager, said, I think the fight will 100% happen this year. Fury still looked doubtful, asked whether Joshua needed more understanding and at least one tune-up fight after his personal tragedy. Fury said, he's had his problems, we all have, God knows. I've had problems myself. I've attempted to kill myself before, so I've been through it. I've been up and down. I've been one step out of the mental institution. So we've all had our problems, and that's life. Unfortunately,
Fury seemed very much rattled that Anthony Joshua would not play his game on his terms cause he's the one who wants to be in control. That's what all the head games are for.
all of that stuff you saw yesterday, that was head games, a mixture of Tyson Fury's theatrics and Turkey LL Sheik's partiality that I think Anthony Joshua has had quite enough of. If you're in this game, you're either a boxer or you're not, and the problem is if you take interim fights in heavyweight boxing, you can get chinned. It's not like we're two flyweights and it's tip-tap. Just say, he did the fight Wilder, and Wilder detonated on him. Does anyone want to see me and Wilder again? God knows I don't.
Said Fury. Fury is against Anthony Joshua taking a fight in the interim, even though he just took a fight in the interim. It's okay for Fury to have a comeback fight, but it's not okay for AJ to have one.
And that's a part of why he's rattled. He's hoping he can catch the guy at the most opportune time to catch the guy, when he's done little more in recent memory than beat up on a novice boxer in Jake Paul. Not a real one. He doesn't want Anthony to have a real fight, a real warm-up.
He doesn't want him to have time to break in his new training team with Alexander Usyk and all of those guys.
Yeah, because if anybody knows anything about beating Tyson Fury, it would be Team Usyk.
It's a big part of the reason Fury's rattled. He's used to having things on his terms, going his way, and AJ has enough marquee value all on his own that he doesn't have to play his game and play by his rules.
Fury's grown used to wasting people's time. He can't imagine that somebody might be wasting his, because he just had a comeback fight with Makhmudov, and he didn't come back just to fight Makhmudov.
No, he came back for one last big score against Anthony Joshua.
Listen, I think they're gonna fight. I absolutely do. I don't think Anthony was seated ringside to watch the Richard Riakporhe fight or the Conor Benn fight. He was there to scout Fury. Though if Fury's rattled, it's because of the very hint that Anthony's not gonna do things how he wants him to do things when he wants him to do things.
Turkey might be partial towards Tyson Fury, but investing in Tyson Fury doesn't count for much if you don't also bring AJ along.
And AJ's not just some pawn on your chessboard.
What the Jake Paul fight should have reminded everybody of is that Anthony never needed Turkey LL Sheik to make a bunch of money.
Netflix offered him a fuck ton just to be able to use him once.
AJ doesn't need Turkey.
But Fury does, and he also needs AJ.
And that's why he's rattled.
Seemingly throwing his toys out of the pram, that if he can't fight AJ, he's gonna go back into retirement. Sit tight, Toots.
The landlord's gonna get to you.